Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Today's episode is all about the free agency. This is one of the best times of the year. So much to talk about. This specific episode, we're gonna just touch on some specific players we want to discuss. Then we'll get into maybe some winners and losers in the next episode, and then Lance and I got to talk about our teams. Got to talk about the Eagles getting a million comp picks, and then talk about the Vikings signing a bunch of players, some older, some not. We'll get into that in our last episode. But let's start here with some some big names that have signed or that haven't signed yet. And I think we should go by position. Let's start with the quarterback position. And I think a good place to start is my boy Sam Darnold. So back in the other episodes, I was like, hey, he's gonna sign and trade. We're gonna do it. I was really hoping, but apparently his market was only about 33 million, which really shocked me. I thought he was at least gonna get 40 because of the way the market is. Some quarterbacks last year that weren't all that great, like Tua. I know he's a little younger, but he hasn't really proven a whole lot, and he's making like 50 million. So I was thinking, hey, Sam Darnold, top three pick, probably 43-ish. I could see that, but he got 10 million less. I think overall, that's kind of a sneaky good deal. Not, I wouldn't say a steal, but a good value pick for the Seahawks at that cost. I don't think Sam Darnold's bringing a Super Bowl championship to Seattle anytime soon, but at that cost, it's not breaking the bank for the Seahawks, and you're still able to pick up some pieces, even though they traded them all away. But I think that contract that Seattle gave him was a really good deal, and I think he's going to play well. Not as well as he did in Minnesota. Minnesota better pieces, better infrastructure, better offensive minded coach. But I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll be in the like 25 to 30 touchdown range, maybe 3,500 yards, 14 picks, something like that. Like a solid NFL quarterback. Not one that's going to amaze you, but not one that's going to be cut in week two either. So I like the move. I think they paid him a fair amount of money. Good deal. And I think he's going to do well in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn on the move. So this is where I'm coming at
Hmm.
it, and I'm
Okay.
trying to be objective about it, but I won't go full dive on the Seahawks yet because we're not. We will get to that later,
Oh, yeah.
but I do think it's worth the discussion. You trade away your quarterback
Hmm.
because he's too mid. He's not going to get you anywhere, right? And so to me, the logic was, okay, you're getting rid of him. You're putting yourself in a better cap situation
Hmm.
and preparing yourself for the next off season. Maybe you're going to trade for a rookie quarterback by going up in the draft, or maybe someone
Hmm.
falls to you like it did for the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
value. And this is nothing against the Washington Commanders because it was a phenomenal pick with Jaden Daniels, but overall value for how much you invested to get the pick, to pick where
Hmm.
you were at. I mean, I thought that would be a play, but no. They said that we don't want a mid quarterback. Instead, we want another mid quarterback, and we're still going
That's
to pay
fair.
a lot of money. I don't get the logic. I know that there's an argument of, well, it's 2 years, and then we'll see.
Hmm.
But I'm struggling to understand what the logic is around it. I mean,
Hmm.
is it because you don't want to like fall off the earth after trading away Gino, and so this is like what you think is the best move? I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Hmm.
Like I feel like as a Seahawks
Yeah.
fan, if I was approaching it, I couldn't give it more than a C. It's respectable,
Mm.
but it's not like I get the value thing, right? I understand what you're saying, but it's just the overall inflationary cost of a quarterback is so high now that it's
It
like,
is.
okay,
It
so
is.
what? But like, so let's,
Yeah.
this isn't a one for one comparison, but the Eagles saw a discrepancy in the market. They got Saquon Barkley last year, but they were paying a guy that was the offensive player of the year, a
Hmm.
13-ish, 14-ish million dollar per year contract. That is not this. You're talking about 33-ish million dollars every year. So it's a significant chunk of the cap going to this guy. So for me, it's just like he better win you a playoff game. That's the type of contract you just signed. He better win you a playoff game, or
Hmm.
else was it worth it? Did that take you? I mean, that contract dated, right? It's not the same thing, but it's pretty similar to Jared Goff's contract when he was traded to the Detroit Lions. And the Lions
Yeah.
won that trade in terms of like the value they got for it, the picks that they picked up.
I
I
don't
get,
know. Did they get a Super Bowl? Someone got a Super
is
Bowl
the
out of that
experiment
trade.
over, Andrew? Is it done?
The Rams are looking pretty good too. They almost beat the Super Bowl champs in the playoffs last year.
We will get to that. We will get to that later. I don't want
Yes.
to I don't want to go off too deep in the weeds, but I just
Hmm.
having heartburn with that one. Let me get to a couple other quarterback moves though. Um, so I gave a move I didn't like. Let me give some moves that I did like. One that
Okay.
I thought was a very good move, Josh Dobbs to the New England Patriots.
Oh,
Sneaky
interesting.
good
Okay.
move.
Good
2 years,
backup.
but two
Hmm.
years, 8 million. I mean, so here's something interesting, Andrew. Josh Dobbs got 2 years, 8 million. Do you know how much Nick Mullins got for going to the Jacksonville Jaguars?
They get like 10. Am I correct on that?
He got 2 years, 6.5 million.
6.5. Okay.
That
That's
is
cheap.
so you're telling me there's only 1.5 million difference between Dobbs and like I think Dobbs has shown way more capability as a quarterback compared to Mullins. Like Mullins, it's like I think that Nick Mullins is as good as Tommy DeVito. And Tommy DeVito re-signed with the Giants for 1 year, 1 million. Why is Tommy DeVito getting $1 million, but Mullins is getting 6.5 million? He hasn't shown anything. He has
I
a
have
lot
a
of
thought
turnover
on that for
problems.
sure. Keep going, but I know why.
Oh man, that's to me. I just will probably see things a little different on that one. Oh, well, I'm giving some moves I don't like, so I don't want to go too far in the weeds. I'll give him one more of a move that I like that I thought this
Yes.
was good. Andy Dalton staying with the Panthers for 2 years, 8 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super low buy. I
Hmm.
love the investment by the Panthers because you feel like you've got a future with your quarterback. You feel
Hmm.
like that Bryce Young is rounding into his own, but why can't you keep Andy? He showed some promise. He showed that he could step into
Yep.
spots.
Solid veteran backup. Hmm.
I mean, I really like it. And anyway, I'll let you say about some other moves because I'm sure you have some other quarterback moves that were on your radar.
Well, first, I do want to dive into that Nick Mullins thing you're talking about. So, a couple things
Uh-huh.
on that. First, the main reason why he's in Jacksonville is because of their new OC, Udinski. He's from Minnesota.
Okay.
He knows Mullins really
Okay.
well. He knows him basically in and out. And the way Mullins is, being a Minnesota fan and watching him play, he's kind of like the off-brand Jameis Winston, where he's gonna chunk it deep. He threw for
Uh-huh.
400 plus yards against Detroit twice whenever Kirk Cousins got hurt 2 years ago, and he let him up, but he also threw for like two, three picks in each game. So
Mhm.
he's like the off-brand, not as talented Jameis Winston. He's fun. He'll light up the scoreboard, but he'll also give the game away pretty much every single game. So in spot starts, he can be okay as your full-time starter, 8, 10 games. That's not what you want. So to back up Trevor Lawrence, I'm okay with that. And he's
Mhm.
getting 3-ish million a year. It's not awful. It's a little high, maybe. Yeah, but it's not awful. But I think the reason why they paid him so much is because Minnesota wanted to keep him as their backup. Minnesota
Mhm.
probably offered 2 years, five and a half. I don't know, something like that. A fine offer. But Jacksonville offered a little bit more. Yeah, I'll go down there to Florida, spend some time on the beach instead of cold Minnesota. So that's why I think he went to Jacksonville for maybe a little bit inflated value on that contract because Udinski knows him well, trusts him as a backup. Um, but other moves that I liked as far as the quarterback position goes, there's just one on my mind that I'm scared of, honestly. I'll get into that specifically, but I want to talk about the Justin Fields move to the Jets.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm torn on it. I like Justin Fields as a player, And I like some pieces that the Jets have. That contract's a little high for someone who hasn't proven that he can actually play in this league. He's had
Agreed.
spurts of of really cool plays, consistency sometimes, athleticism, absolutely. What I'm interested in are the Jets going to kind of mold their offense around his skill set? Or are they going to ask him to just throw the ball 30 times a game, which is not what he needs to do? He needs to throw the ball 20 times a game with 10 rushes. If they're doing that, he can he almost might thrive because he's got a really good running back in Breece Hall, a really good receiver in Garrett Wilson. Their offensive line is decent. It's not awful. It's decent. It's got a few pieces here and there. They got a pretty good defense. So if they're trying to mold their offense kind of toward the Eagles Ravens kind of thing, where they're doing some read option, hand the ball to their back, having their quarterback, bounce it outside, throw it, that could be some success over there. But if they're asking him to throw the ball, pocket passer, it's gonna just blow up in their face. So I'm interested in seeing that because at 20 mil a year, if he's doing the read option kind of scrambling drill, that could be
Mhm.
value. At 20 mil a year, if he's going to be a pocket passer, that is a horrible contract. So I'm torn on that one. That one I'm thinking it could be good or it could be awful. I'm gonna watch that closely. Um, but the other, I'm gonna have to talk about it. I'm just gonna have to talk about it. We can touch on it more in our other episode when we talk about the Vikings, but Aaron Rodgers. So I've been saying for a couple weeks now, no, no, absolutely no. But there is legitimate reports that the Vikings are thinking about it, and I don't know why. I am super confused. This is what I'm hoping is happening. I'm hoping that every front office should think of every scenario. If they don't, that's almost malpractice. If they don't open every door, at least take a peek. What's this look like? Oh, ugly. Shut that door, go to the next one. But they looked at it. So that's what they should be doing. They should have brought up a conversation. Hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to be available. What do we think? And then a conversation ends after 2 minutes because it's a horrible decision. That's what it should have happened. And then there could be actual truth to say, hey, they are having conversations. Yeah, they did. And they ended it. That's what I'm hoping. And I think I'm leaning toward that way because there's really only one reporter that keeps pounding the table that they're really considering it, while everyone else is saying that it's highly unlikely and that they're going to go with
Mhm.
JJ. It's Diana Rossini, and she's been just no, it's a really possibility. And everyone else, Schefter, everyone's saying no, we don't really see it. I'm hoping that's the case. My concern is Minnesota, which we'll get into that in our last episode, but they have a lot of cap space left and only one quarterback on roster. That scares me. They have not signed a backup. All these backups are flying off to all these other teams. The amount of backups are really dwindling. There's like two or three left, and they haven't signed a backup. They have Brett Rippon, but that's not a backup. That's their third quarterback. That's on the practice squad kind of guy. That does concern me. My concern's going to be gone whenever they do sign a backup, but they haven't yet. So I'm a little scared there. What I see happening is I see Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers. I don't see him going to the Giants because he's not going to get anywhere close to winning there. They have too many holes where he's just going to be a 500 team, just like with the Jets. He's going to get hit, he's going to get bounced around on the ground, and he's not going to have fun. With the Steelers, he could at least win some games. They won't win a Super Bowl, of course. They'll be a borderline playoff team like they always are. And then after the season, everybody's going to get fired. But he could at least have some fun there, win some games. He's got pieces with DK Metcalf and Pickens, and they have a decent run game. That's where I see him going, but it concerns me that Minnesota still has a lot of cap space and no backup quarterback. I'm thinking, I was, I was before this episode, this like starting all the way till yesterday, I was almost like feeling like it's gonna happen that Kirk Cousins was gonna get cut and he would accept being the backup to come back to Minnesota where he loved playing. And that would have made sense because we'd have paid him like 4 or 5 million, or the veteran minimum to come because the contract with the Falcons, just like with Russ Wilson last year. and he is a good enough person where he would accept the backup role to mentor JJ McCarthy because we wouldn't have had him to start. We would have him as a backup, and he would have been fine with that because he wants to come back to Minnesota. But the Falcons kept him on their roster. They took that $10 million roster bonus and they said, "You're staying." We'll get into that with our winners and losers. Spoiler alert, Falcons are a loser on my side. But I was hoping that was going to happen. It didn't happen. So Aaron Rodgers, he scares me. I'm off my soapbox, off my rant.
I get it, man. The amazing thing is it's amazing. I think it's a very similar comparison, and I think it's worth mentioning right now, considering what's happening in basketball.
Mm,
But um, this last offseason, the 76ers went and signed Paul George
that's
from the
fair.
Clippers. And I am not a 76ers fan,
Hmm.
but I follow Philadelphia media, and most of them are naturally 76ers fans.
Makes sense.
And the
Yep.
hype was unreal for this guy. They were so excited. It was the biggest free agent signing that
Hmm.
the Sixers had had in a long time. He's going to come in, he's going to help the team. It's just amazing how you can see a train wreck as a fan and you're like, this is a train wreck. This is a,
Hmm.
one other time I felt the same way, the Jalen Reagor drafting by the Philadelphia Eagles. And we dropped one of the best wide receivers to you guys because we were so obnoxiously
Yep.
focused on
I think it
he's
was
a
the very next
slot
pick, wasn't it?
receiver. Yeah, yeah. I
Hmm.
winced when I saw that pick. Thankfully, we rebounded and picked one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now in the next round. But
Hmm.
wow. I just think it would be the same type of setup. I can see the train wreck
Hmm.
coming. It's already like
Yeah,
I just don't get it, man. I don't get what people see. But
me neither.
here's the thing I've come to notice, and I see this a lot, not just in sports, but in life. When you convince yourself that something's true, you tend, like most people, to silo yourself and drill down into this belief. And anytime someone comes at you and tells you it's not the way you think it is, it's actually going to
Hmm.
be, it's going to be bad, you shirk away from that. You deny it. You push off. You make excuses. And I just feel like whoever picks up Aaron Rodgers is doing just that. They
Hmm.
are looking at the flashy parts of Aaron Rodgers from his career and not focusing on the train wreck of what he can do to
Yeah.
the organization. And
He hasn't been good in 3 years.
well,
That's the
even
other
like,
thing.
if you
He
like
he
want to
hasn't been
compare
good
him,
since like his second last year with the Packers. His last year with
yeah,
the Packers, he was bad. His first year with the Jets, he got hurt. Last year with the Jets, he was bad. So why? I,
yeah.
uh,
But it
I
just
don't
feels like
know.
an Antonio Brown type of move. But the only reason that worked in Tampa was because you had Tom
Tom
Brady.
Brady. Hmm.
Tom Brady ran that ship, and he made it very clear to Brown, I want you here, but you are out if you make this too hard for us.
I still
And
remember him
him and
taking off his jersey and waving to the crowd on his way out.
well, I think we can look forward to that this year with whoever Aaron Rodgers plays with because
Hmm.
he's a diva. He really is a diva.
100%. And
Just
I
don't
can't, and I just don't understand their narrative of, oh, it's just like the Brett Favre situation. No, it's nothing like the Brett Favre situation.
completely different.
So the beginning storyline kind of is where quarterback with the Packers wins a Super Bowl, gets cut or traded, goes to the Jets, plays a couple years, ends his time there, then comes to the Vikings, like Brett Favre did, takes us that close to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers plays his time with the Packers, wins one Super Bowl. Next goes to the Jets, doesn't really work out. So everyone's thinking, yeah, it makes sense. Follow right with Brett Favre. The huge difference is that Vikings team in '09, I believe it was, had everything going for them. They were just missing a quarterback. They had no
Yeah.
quarterback on their team. It was literally in practice where they were looking at their quarterbacks' dirt balls like 5 yards away from the receivers. And they said, we have a great team. We need a quarterback. So they went and called Favre and they came in. That is not the case this year. I know JJ McCarthy, you've mentioned this, and it makes sense. I push back because I'm a fan of his, but he hasn't played an NFL snap yet. I get it. but he has so much potential. In practice, he is lighting it up. Why would you bring that cancer into your locker room when you have potential in JJ
Yeah.
McCarthy? After 2, 3 weeks, if he's looking like he's lost, maybe think about something outside, not Rodgers, but think of something else. But that's not going to happen, in my opinion. He's going to play really well. And if Aaron Rodgers was there, that'd be another year wasted off his rookie contract. And rookie contracts are cheat codes in this league. Look at Brock Purdy. That team almost won a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy because they could build that team around him. We'll get into the 49ers on next episode, but that's just the way you do it. That's how you have a really big leg up on the rest of the competition when you have a rookie quarterback who's really good, you can build around him. If you have a rookie quarterback who's average, like Brock Purdy, you could still almost make it. But if you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers, who's probably going to cost 25, $30 million on your cap, it
Hmm.
doesn't make
It's
any
not worth it.
sense. No,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
absolutely not.
yeah, it's no bueno. Um, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I'm doubtful.
Hmm.
Really. I mean, truly, I'm doubtful on that subject. Um,
I am as
but
well. It just scares me because of all the talk
I hear
that
you.
it scares me.
I hear
I
you.
mean, there's some
And
people who are saying that right now, the way the players are, who has the best chance of bringing the Vikings to a Super Bowl win? Aaron Rodgers or JJ McCarthy? Some people will say Aaron Rodgers. I'm thinking you need to be tested because you are on drugs. That is insane. Insane that you think Aaron Rodgers has a better chance at age 41. Now, if this was 5 years ago, I'm 100% on board with that train. I will deal with the headaches in the locker room. For 5 years ago, Aaron Rodgers, he's just not it. He's just not it. Oh, well, let's move on. I'm tired of talking about Rodgers.
yeah, no, I'm good. I mean,
But
so moving on, I feel like we could kind of like clump together like the receiving targets, right? Like a little bit of running back, a little bit of wide receiver. There honestly
sure.
hasn't been a ton on the running back front, so I don't
Yeah,
think
not yet.
that's. We'll get to
The one that's
something
interesting to
later.
me, the one
Go
that's
ahead.
interesting to me is Najee Harris. That's interesting to
Mm,
me because the Chargers don't have anyone else now. They have not brought back Dobbins. They cut Gus Edwards. They have, I think it's Kamana Vidal. I think that's his
do you mean
name,
the
the rookie
Steelers
they
don't have
have.
anyone else?
I'm saying the Chargers. So I think it's going to be the Najee Harris show instead
Oh,
of
I
getting
got you.
split.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think so to put a fantasy football spin on it, he could have value because he's gonna get a lot of work and he's still talented. He's not, I don't think he's as explosive as J.K. Dobbins was, but I think he's more consistent to where he's always gonna get 3, 4 yards, maybe 5, 6, instead of a 80-yard touchdown or a 2 yard loss. So I think that signing is interesting for the Chargers and like your point, the Steelers. They have Kenneth Gainwell, who's solid. And then Jalen Warren, who's also solid, but neither one of them have proven to be a
Mhm.
one. They've proven to be really good twos. So we'll see where that goes. But I am interested to see Najee Harris with the Chargers because they're a running team. They picked up Becton um, on their O line, so they're going to try to run even more now. I think he could have a sneaky good year next year. That's the only running back that I'm looking at that kind of caught my eye. I mean, Javonte Williams of the Cowboys, yay. They also picked up Miles Sanders, so there's going to be two guys that are just, they're okay. Nothing crazy. Um, but yeah, Najee Harris to the Chargers. That's interesting because Chargers are a running team, and they're picking up this guy who's still young, still got some juice left. So I got my eye on that one. But that's really it for me on the running backs.
Yeah, and I think we could jump right into the wide receivers next.
I like that because that's
Sticking.
juicy.
Um, I mean, I'm going to start off with the move I like. Chris Godwin coming
Yeah,
back to the Buccaneers.
yeah, that
Solid
that made
move.
so much sense. Yeah.
Solid move. He's definitely got a couple years left in him. I think it's an
Hmm.
excellent decision. Outside of that, Andrew, I don't really understand the rest of the free agent moves. I think they all just weird moves. I just feel like it goes back to the Aaron Rodgers thing again. What are you seeing? I don't see what you're seeing at either X
Hmm.
dollars or certain
Hmm.
age. I just don't see it. I mean, I think
Hmm.
probably the signing that I'm just like, no. Like the one I just really don't understand is It's got to go to him. It's got to go to Darius Slayton. What is he going back to the Giants for at that rate?
I don't know.
Literally the almost the same contract number as Saquon Barkley just a year later. What are you
Hmm.
doing?
Hmm.
It to me it's nonsense. It doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
Don't
Hmm.
like it. Uh I've shared before, but the Cooper Cup move, the guy is 32 years old. Why are you handing out a
Hmm.
3-year, 15 million? I mean, I just feel like this is another classic example. We feel like we have a mid wide receiver who thinks he's better. He's been to
Hmm.
the Pro Bowl a couple times. Let's get rid of him and get another receiver who's mid now because he's too old, too many injuries, paid too much.
Hmm.
What are we? I just don't understand the swap out. Like, if you want to get rid of something, you need to then shift the way that you're approaching it. Don't get
And
more of the
there's more
same.
to it. There's more to it because with DK, at least they had an outside receiver to go along with their slot receiver in
Right.
JSN. Now they have two slot receivers in JSN and Cooper Cup with no outside. They signed Mycrest Valdes-Scantling. Whatever. Good for them. They got a guy that can maybe catch 2 touchdowns in a year. Congrats. And then probably drop a couple touchdown passes. But I mean, with Cooper Cup, he's got maybe 1 or 2 years left in him. Decent play. Maybe not like Cooper Cup play, but maybe 800 to 1,000 yards, maybe like 5, 6 touchdowns. A decent wide receiver too. He might have that left in him. But to your point, that contract is a little steep. Getting paid 15 mil a year whenever you're going to be an absolute two and not the best two anymore in a 3-year deal. Now, it's probably more like a 2-year deal guaranteed. Then get out in the third year. That's probably what they did. But they're still paying him a little too much money, and it doesn't make any sense being two slot guys. The only way they're going to rectify this is if they draft like a superstar X to go on the outside, and then they could just have Cup can play every position a little bit. So maybe that would slightly rectify it. But yeah, it doesn't make it. This was a desperation move saying, hey, we have Jackson Smith and Jigba, and that's it for Sam Darnold. We need something. Let's go get Cooper Cup because everyone else is gone, and it's dumb. They should have kept DK Metcalf, or they should have got more for him because they only got a two. They should have asked for one, but still, if they had kept DK Metcalf and JSN and cut Tyler Lockett and then brought in Sam Darnold, I'd be like, hey, this could be something because at least DK's a head case, but at least he is a big physical outside receiver. Now they have two slots. They're making, well, JSN's not making much, but Cooper Cup's making a ton of money. It makes, yeah, it's just silly to me.
I mean, but like to me, if you're going to go for wide receiver free agency, De'Ami Brown, 25 years old, tons of upside. That move makes more sense.
Didn't he get
There's
picked
risk
up?
there. He did, but I'm just saying, like as
Okay.
far as for comparison. So he's with the
Hmm.
Jacksonville Jaguars. To me, that's a great move. They shipped off Christian Kirk. They have some salary cap relief. They took that salary and they put it towards De'Ami
Hmm.
Brown. There's a chance it totally falls on his face, but the guy's only getting a 1 year, $10 million contract.
It's
Like
not
a
bad.
very
Yeah.
reasonable offer. You could have come in and said, "We'll give you 11 million," and then put in
Hmm.
incentives, and you probably could have beat it out. Like I just don't get the idea of it. But I mean, the NFL altogether, the moves were puzzling. Marquise Brown going back to the Chiefs on an $11 million deal
Yeah.
when he did nothing. I mean,
I
literally
guess they're
nothing.
thinking that he still has something in there because he was hurt all year. But yeah, I get it. Whenever he was healthy, he didn't do much either. So,
You
yeah,
let him walk. You let him walk. Stephon Diggs is still out there. If you're looking for someone like that, like someone
that
that's
is
maybe like
interesting. He is coming off a bad injury, but that is interesting because he might, again, just like Cup, he might have 1 or 2 decent years left, and he probably is a little bit more than Cup because he is one of those outside receivers.
mhm.
So that is interesting.
But like, if you're the Chiefs and you're looking for a 1 year rental, he would do that. Go
Yep.
win a championship. He would totally be down for that.
Absolutely.
The fit makes sense. But DeAndre Hopkins going to the Ravens, again, it's like, no, he's 33 years
Yeah.
old. Eh,
So yeah, will he be a red zone option for Lamar Jackson? Sure. Will he catch a
maybe.
few first downs on third down? Sure. But he might even be the fourth option on that team. because I think it's going to kind of go in this order. I think that their second tight end, Isaiah Likely, I think he could potentially be their first target now because Mark Andrews is getting a little older, a little bit more
Mhm.
injury prone. I think it's Likely one, Flowers two, Andrews three, and maybe even Bateman four. Then it might be Hopkins. So he might be the fifth option on that team right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not loving the wide
And
receiver moves this
I think
offseason.
he's only making 5 million, so it's not like a horrible contract. It's like a hey,
Hmm.
let's get you on the team, see if you got anything left. So $5 million, that's not bad, you know. Got to give the
No,
Ravens credit on that aspect. But is this move gonna be a huge help for their team? No, it's a depth guy that might catch a couple touchdowns in the red zone.
yeah, it just kind of feels like a meh move, like a
Yeah.
okay.
One
Um,
that I found kind of interesting.
mhm,
You probably disagree. He did make too much money. I will say that it's too much money. But Devontae Adams to the Rams
mhm,
is interesting in a player on a team aspect. Not necessarily the contract. We can dig into that, but he's basically going to be very similar to Puka as a big receiver on the outside, catch those jump balls, break some tackles, block really well. So that's interesting to me. And they have slot guys. They have like guys like Tutu Atwell. I
mhm,
think they might still have Demarcus Robinson maybe, unless I'm not sure. But they have slot guys to kind of take over for Cup because Cup was aged out. So that is interesting. I think that helps their offense more than keeping Cup because they can put him on the outside and have two big alpha outside receivers for Matthew Stafford. So the player fit I like. The contract paying him over 20 mil a year, that's too much. You should have gave him a 2 year, like $35 million deal. I'd be like, okay, 17 a year, I can deal with that. They paid him 2 year 46 and yeah, that's too much money. But I like the fit as a player on a team and I trust that coach. So if he says, get me this receiver, okay, I'm paying attention. So that could be interesting. That I don't think the Rams are as close as people think because we touched on this earlier. They were close to beating the Eagles in the playoffs, but let's say they score the touchdown there, other than Matthew Stafford getting hit in the face by, was it Jalen Carter, I think? Um,
mhm.
Eagles still have time to go kick a field goal and win. So that game wasn't going to be over if he gets that pass off. And even if he gets that pass off, it might not have been caught. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. They're a good team. They're a tough team, but I don't think adding Devontae Adams gets them over the hump. Do I see them win a division? Probably, because that division's gotten a lot weaker now.
Mhm.
But I don't see them being a legit contender. Devontae Adams helps. I like the move, but they still need some more help.
I mean, I think that's it for wide receivers, Andrew. I feel like we can kind of
That's
shift.
fair.
There's no one for tight ends, so I think we can
Yeah, not really.
shift to offensive line. Is that good with you?
That works. That works. And there was a
Um,
lot of movement there.
so this just actually happened like yesterday, but the move that I like the most value, right? Like in terms of what did you get or what did you
hmm
pay? But Mekhi Beck didn't go into the Chargers. I think it's an
What
excellent
was the
move.
contract? I didn't see the contract.
I saw that it was 2 years, 20 million. I don't know how that breaks out
That's
incentive
not
wise though.
bad. That's not
But to
bad.
me,
Yeah.
it you're getting Mekhi for a good stretch. He's going to turn 26 this year, so you get the 26,
hmm
27 seasons. I think you could feel confident. I think you could feel like you're getting
hmm
good value for this. I think the Chargers are a good move for him.
Yeah,
I
they're
like
a
the
run
setup.
first team.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
So
liked it too.
I like it. I think it has some good upside. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that I like was impressed by for signings. The Bears picked up a center. I can't remember his name.
It was Drew
Um,
Dahlman. He was the best center on the market from the Falcons. But if you dig into the numbers, yes, he was the best center on the market, but is he the second best center on paying because he's just under Creed Humphrey? No. He is a starting center that has flaws, like most centers in the league. But I think that the Bears paid him too much. They gave him too much money, but that's the market. They had to. They felt like they needed a center. They were revamping their offensive line. Give him credit for that. Is he better than what they had? 100%. He's better than what they had. Is he going to be a Pro Bowler? Not really. He's a solid center that has flaws, and they're paying him like a perennial Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's fair. I'm just going back through. Oh, I mean, we have to talk about the Vikings. With Ryan
Yeah,
Kelly going there, I think we
yeah.
kind of were split on this. I liked the move because it's
Hmm.
2 years, 18 million. I don't think that that's bad. I think that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And only 9 million is guaranteed. So if he doesn't pay it out the first year, he can be cut.
so I
And
mean,
I'm
I
pretty sure
think.
the plan is to draft someone this year or their backup, who, ironically enough, last name is Jurgens, just like your guy, develops and takes that spot after 1 or 2
Mhm,
years. I think that's the plan. So initially, when we were going back and forth, the Ryan Kelly move was their first offensive line move. I thought, okay, I like that it's helpful. It's better than what we have. But I
mhm,
was scared that was the only one we're going to make because it was the first one. Usually, your first move, you try to get your guy. Let's go get our guy. Let's make sure we get him, then we'll worry about the rest. The first one they got was Kelly. I was like, man, that's good, but what about our guards? We need help there. But shortly
mhm,
after that, they picked up his boy right next to him and Will Fries. So I felt a lot better about Ryan Kelly being signed with a better right guard. Kelly by himself with our guards where they were would
mhm,
have been like a 10% upgrade. We would have been a little bit better running ball, a little bit better pass protection, but not enough because we had two glaring holes. Now we only have one mediocre hole, which with four guys being studs, one guy being kind of average, you can deal with that. You can deal with that. Just throw help on that guy's side, and then you're good to go. So at the end of the day, I really like the move, especially the
mhm.
contract being so low.
Right, the
Initially,
totality,
I
putting it
was
all together.
yeah. Initially, I was like, it's okay. It's better than what we got, but I need more. I don't want that to be the only thing, and it wasn't. So end of the day, I really did like the move. The contract's great. He is coming off an injury though, where he missed a
Mhm,
good chunk of the season. He's a little older, so hopefully they can keep him healthy. And one thing I really like about Ron Kelly is he is one of those snarly, angry, bad attitude, punch you in the mouth offensive linemen. Just
mhm,
nasty. I love that about offensive linemen. Just those guys that just are just like growl and if you look at pictures of Ryan Kelly online, he's always like upset at everything.
mhm,
And I love that. I want him mad. I want him punching. I just that's awesome. So I really did like that move. Um,
mhm.
and then with Will Fries, people are saying he's making too much money. We paid him like 5 years, like 88 million. So with sticker shock on contracts, which when we get to the defense, which we might have to do a different episode for defense because we're getting into the weeds on a lot of stuff. But if you look at dig deeper into these contracts, they're not that really bad. He's making about $6 million against the cap this year, and only about half of it's guaranteed where we can get out after 3 years. So it's the we'll touch on the Vikings and the Eagles later, but the Vikings did these contracts beautifully. They did an excellent job on some of these older players, even the younger ones they signed, where it's team friendly, even though the sticker shock is like, whoa, Byron Murphy got how much? 22 million a year? Not really, if you look at it. But anyway, so I did love those two moves for the Vikings. On the Bears side, since we touched on them, when they traded for Joe, I always forget, Joe Thuney, right?
Tooney.
Thuney.
You
I
would
get it wrong
think
all the
it's
time.
Tooney. You're
Yes.
good.
The H
Yeah.
is silent. So they traded for Joe Thuney and they traded for Jonah Jackson, I think, or is
Yeah, Jonah
Jordan
Jackson.
Williams. I think it was Jonah Jackson. So they completely revamped their O line. Ben Johnson wanted that happen. Give him credit. The players they got, I'm not super high on. They're
Mhm.
better than what they had. Absolutely.
Right.
They have a
Right.
better center. They have the two better guards. Does it make their offensive line scary? I don't know. Because Jackson's always been an above average guard
Mhm.
that doesn't pass block all that great. And then Joe Tooney is a little bit older. He is really good. He might have 1, maybe 2 years left of like super play, but you're traded some picks for him. I think they traded like a fifth next year or fourth next year, something like that.
Mhm.
They have a good tackle. I think they're still weak on one side. So overall, they improved, but I'm not too big on the players they signed.
I can understand what you're saying. I feel like it's though it all comes back to what's your expectations? What's your
Mm,
goal? What are you trying to do? And the way I look at it is the Bears need a rebrand. They need to win. They need to be successful because the only way players are going to come to play with Caleb Williams is if they
mhm.
rebrand and make it successful.
And they need to
They
have Caleb have a successful year instead of being sacked 900 times and have him running around and trying to make something
right.
up. So in
Well,
that aspect, it does make sense. Keep him more protected.
and you hear this a lot from reporters in the NFL and those that are heavily following it, but it is true. The difference between being a successful team and a horrible team is not a drastic difference. The talent levels within
Mm-hmm.
each team is, it's not like a great disparity. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
um, North Dakota State versus Alabama in college. Like we're not talking
Mm-hmm.
about that drop off in talent. There's differences, but it really comes back to how you manage your team, how you manage the cap, how you manage player
Yep.
development and growth. And so we'll see what happens. But Ben needs wins. He needs wins, and especially in how competitive that division is, they can't get
Mm-hmm.
buried. If they
Ooh,
come out
I'm
again,
really excited for us to have our division breakdowns because I'm gonna have a surprise team being in last place in the North. Just saying. But yes, continue.
uh, I think I know who this is going to be, by the way, based off of our past discussions. But anyway, for another day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's really it for the centers and guards breakdown. I know the Titans signed some players. I'm trying to think who that was that they got.
Oh, they
Zietler was
got
one of them,
from the Lions. Yes.
but there was the overpay. I mean, like the one like eyes bulged out of my head. Why would you pay him that much? Um, who was that? I think it
I am
was
not
he a
sure.
Steelers player? Um, I'm just looking for him on the NFL's list to see if I can find it. Here, let me just look up Titans. Dan Moore, Dan Moore
Mm-hmm.
Jr. And I mean, he got 4 years, 82 million, and I don't think that was worth the contract. I mean, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but again, it all comes back to what's the expectations. The Titans are not competing right
Yeah.
now. They have got an
No.
extensive rebuild in front of them, and so it's just like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, does that really move the needle? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm skeptical. But I mean,
I will
outside of
add,
those, uh-huh.
I will add a big overpay, which this goes into a later episode, is the Aaron Banks signing with the Packers. He is an above average guard that got 4 years,
Mm,
77 million. Man. And that's really the only move the Packers made. Does it help their O-line? Sure. But that they needed receiver help, they needed secondary help, and they went and paid this guy that much money when he was above average guard. That one, I was like, wow, this is the market. And yeah, that I don't like that one very much. One I really liked actually, looking at this, just to touch on one more guy.
mhm.
Let me see his contract that he made. There he is. Not Makai Becton, that's your guy. I'm talking about Patrick McCarry. Patrick McCarry, when
Okay.
he went to the Jaguars, 3 years, 37.5 million. That's a decent contract because McCarry is a guy that can play anywhere on the O line. Tackle, through tackle, guard, center. He's played it all. And so he's going to probably slot into the left guard spot, making that offensive line a little bit better, trying to protect Trevor Lawrence.
Mhm.
I think that's a good contract. He's only 27, I think, 27, 28, and he's only making just over like what 11 a year, something like that, 12 a year. So that's not bad. I like that move by the Jaguars. That was one guy I was hoping that the Vikings would get. So
Mhm.
that was a solid move. I like that contract and everything about it.
So, but like to tie it back real quick to the Seahawks, I just feel like it's an important discussion. There's
Yes.
clearly a few offensive linemen available. The offensive
Hmm.
line of the Seahawks is
It's
atrocious,
bad. It's bad. Hmm.
and they didn't pick up anybody. And
Yeah.
instead, you devoted resources to an aging wide receiver that you really don't know what you have left, and a quarterback that you don't know if he's got anything to give. I mean, really, I just, it's just weird to me because
Hmm.
if you're going to pick and choose, let me put it this way too. I think that when offensive linemen switch teams, there's a higher potential for success than when you
Hmm.
switch wide receivers and when you switch quarterbacks. Because
Yeah.
yes, it's true, offensive linemen will be doing different roles in different places, but if you see tendencies you like, I think it's easier to plug them in and anticipate success. Quarterbacks is
Hmm.
so different because I mean, Sam Darnold was with the 49ers, and that didn't go well. And he was with the Panthers, and that didn't go well. And then he had one good season with the Vikings, and now all of a sudden he's a $30 million per year quarterback. I'm just questioning the thought process. I just feel like, you can obsess over like, oh, if we just get this one player, our whole dynamics will shift. But going back to the Jaguars, you've seen some really good sneaky moves that are just like, maybe this
Hmm.
puts them on a better trajectory. It's tough to say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
things to
And
factor
the
in.
Texans made a bunch of questionable moves.
Yes.
Their O line is uh they they like got rid of Shaq Mason, who was he was, they cut him. He was having struggles,
Hmm.
but then they're going to replace him with Ed Ingram from the Vikings. Don't get me started on Ed Ingram. He's going to step on your quarterback's foot when he's trying to go back to pass. He did it twice to Kirk Cousins, twice. He stepped on his foot, and
No bitterness
it's
sensed from you, Andrew.
I'm
Don't
just
sense
so
any
thrilled
bitterness.
that basically what Minnesota did was they traded Ed Ingram for oh, the guy they just picked up from the 49ers, that running back. They pretty much traded Ed Ingram for that because they got a 6th round pick for Ed Ingram next year. That's what they used to trade for Jordan Mason. And they went back a little bit in this year's draft. It's like 20 spots in the 6th round or 5th round, so it's not bad. But so they literally traded Ed Ingram for Jordan Mason. That's a win. That's a win. And
That's a great
CJ
that's a
Stroud.
it's a great way to look at it. But that's exactly like the best GMs. Harry Roseman, that's
Hmm.
exactly how he plays it, is that
Yep.
it's not just trading, it's now I've got this additional resource. What am I going to do with that resource? So,
Hmm.
yeah, no, it's a good point. Well, Andrew, I think that takes us through offense. Is there anything else we
Yeah.
want to cover?
I don't think so. What we could do is next episode we can kind of fly through the defense and then add our winners and losers in the end because we kind of already touched on it.
Okay,
It's not going to shock a lot of people when they hear our winners and losers because we already mentioned it a little bit. So that's what we'll do. We'll run through the defense, hit our winners and losers, and our last episode is going to be just focusing on our teams because that's what we
I
want to
like it.
do. We want to talk about our teams.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I mean, we had like the most average off season ever, I guess. We'll get to that.
Well, you guys have a different plan in store, which you're going to touch a lot on. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time when we talk about the defense and free agency and our winners and losers.
Thanks, everybody.